Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, wherever you may be. And the NBA Finals may not be until Thursday, but this is your Finals preview episode where you got the Indiana Pacers' efficient, explosive offense going head to head with that elite Oklahoma City Thunder, and one of these teams, either it's OKC or Indiana, that will be hosting that NBA Finals trophy up in the air for the very first time. But before we get into today's episode, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Be much appreciated. And if you're listening on your preferred audio platform, Apple, Spotify, or whatever, please hit that follow button, rate 5 stars, and leave a nice little review. Would be also much appreciated. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they dispatched the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games in the Western Conference Finals. The Indiana Pacers, they thwarted the New York Knicks in a thrilling 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. And Tyrese Halliburton becoming that future face of this league right in front of our eyes once guys like LeBron, Curry, KD, and these other guys roll off into the sunset. Tyrese undoubtedly will be the next face, one of the next faces of the NBA, with the way not just him, but this Indiana team has played here in these playoffs. The Indiana Pacers, their road to the NBA Finals, knocking off the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, Dame got hurt. Giannis was Giannis, but again, you beat the Milwaukee Bucks. And then you dispatched what most people would say was the best team in the East for most of the season in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then what we just witnessed, it was Indiana knocking off the New York Knicks in 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they quickly took care of the Memphis Grizzlies in 4 games with a sweep. Then in a grueling 7-game series, which told us a lot about this Oklahoma City Thunder team, they took care of the Denver Nuggets in 7. And then in that Western Conference Finals, in 5 games, took care of the Minnesota Timberwolves, where the Thunder, they lost by 42 points in Game 3 to Minnesota, but they come back in Games 4 and Game 5 to win that series. And they did a pretty damn good job on both Julius Randle in that series and Anthony Edwards. Incredible job with what that defense has done all season long and also in this postseason. But as I mentioned, the NBA Finals, Game 1, it does tip off on Thursday on ABC in Oklahoma City, which should be loud as we all expect. But you got the 25th TV market in Oklahoma City against the 21st TV market. But this is not about 2 small market teams, because if you're a hardcore basketball fan like myself, we are going to tune in. And I believe having these 2 teams, 2 small market teams, is really good for the NBA when you got an elite defense against an explosive, efficient offense like Oklahoma City and Indiana. And when you look at this series, which could present a chance to witness what this Oklahoma City relentless defense can do against this Indiana offense. When you got the ball is on that side of the court, the outcome of these games may rest on which top-rated unit gets the quote-unquote upper hand of the other. Because you know the Oklahoma City Thunder, with their tremendous defense against Minnesota, as I said, in the Western Conference Finals, can they actually do much? Well, we didn't see Minnesota actually do much in that series, but you got Oklahoma City, they got two members on the all defensive team. You got Lu Dort on the first team, and then Jalen Williams, who made the second team. But that's not it. That's not all for Oklahoma City. They have so much more defensively that can cause a little havoc for this Indiana team. You got Chet Holmgren and Alex Caruso, who will, in my opinion, you can make the case that Chet and Caruso were the Oklahoma City Thunder's better ball stoppers during the season. And then with the Indiana Pacers, we know about Tyrese Halliburton. When the ball is in his hands and how he can help create scoring chances. Not just for himself, but for his teammates. And we saw that especially in the postseason. What was it? A couple of games in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was game 4 where he had 15 assists in one of these Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was game 4 against the Knicks where he had 15 assists in one of these games. But with that alone, with Tyrese's ability to help set up his teammates for scoring opportunities, it's almost like a little throwback to, we would say, in the 90s, early 2000s. Because Tyrese Halliburton, he is a fast first point guard who can spot his teammates pretty easily for those easy baskets. And then he also can lead that fast break, because if you turn the ball over against this Indiana team, they will make you pay in transition. And we saw that against the New York Knicks. One of the reasons why the Knicks lost that series is because the Knicks kept turning the ball over. But also the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are also good in transition. You turn the ball over against Oklahoma City, they will also make you pay. So whoever can take care of the basketball better, I think should have the slight edge in this series. You do not want to turn the basketball over against either of these teams. So that's one thing that you should probably keep an eye on in these finals, because both teams are really good in transition. So you turn the ball over, you better get your transition defense back on defense, because you don't want to give up any easy buckets in this series against either of these teams, because they will make you pay, both these teams. Another thing I think people should keep an eye out in this series, the big man lineup. And that seemingly what I'm talking about is you got Oklahoma City, which should be slightly favored in Oklahoma City's hands. You got Isaiah Hartenstein, excellent free agent pickup by the Thunder, and then you got um Chet Holmgren also. But with Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, both capable of snatching those double digits boards. But meanwhile, but on the other end, meanwhile, you got Miles Turner, who's I believe he's the longest tenured Indiana Pacers player on that roster, drafted way back in 2015, I want to believe. But Miles Turner is also meek on the boards. And that's something, and also the Pacers kind of lack a quality backup. We saw in that Knicks series, Thomas Bryant got benched in that series against the Knicks. And then you had Tony Bradley come in, get some quality minutes before his injury in that series, and then Thomas Bryant came back. And in that game 6 against the Knicks, we saw Thomas Bryant hit some big buckets in that game, including, I think it was like, 2 or 3 threes in the corner for Indiana, which really catapulted Indiana to that victory. But also, Spicy P, who's got championship pedigree on this Pacers team, he can also lead them in crushing the boards and the rebounds. He's got 5? He almost has 5.5 rebounds per game in this postseason, in these playoffs. So if the Indiana Pacers, if they can match the physicality and the elbow grease of the Oklahoma City Thunder with a collective unit effort, that would be a victory, a small victory, small win for the Indiana Pacers, but it won't be easy with the big man lineup, because you got Chet Holmgren, he's grown up fast after missing his rookie season with an injury. He missed, I believe it was the first half of the season with a hip injury. But he's growing up in these playoffs. Isaiah Hartenstein, who's been awesome for the Thunder this season. What a great free agent signing by them this past off season. But that could be the difference maker in this series, is that big men matchup between these two ball clubs with Chet, Isaiah for OKC, and then you can go Miles Turner, Spicy P, and see what Rick Carlisle does as a backup to Miles Turner, was if Tony Bradley's available or Thomas Bryant, see what they do. So that's something to watch for as well in this series, because that should be a fun matchup in the paint, on the glass, see which team can crash the boards the best in this series. And also, when you talk about these two teams in the Thunder and the Pacers, both teams have incredible depth to their rosters. We talk about Indiana and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, we saw the Pacers go 11 deep in that series against the Thunder. And then you got the the Oklahoma City Thunder can also go deep into their bench, and that goes for the roster construction of both these teams. So, and for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think with their depth, once again, could it give them? I think if you look at the depth of both teams, or Oklahoma City, Indiana, are they kind of even on that aspect of this series? Because, like as I mentioned, we saw Indiana go 11 deep against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, Oklahoma City, they can go deep into their roster as well. So this should be a fun battle to see what team has the. I think both teams are kind of even when we talk about the depth um, of these two ball clubs here in the NBA Finals, because uh, it's really interesting to see what they do in these finals. For the Pacers, you got Spicy P. Yeah, we know we got the MVP in the Eastern Conference Finals, but what could surprise folks, because we know how Spicy P, he was really good against the Knicks. He was productive. Since Indiana acquired him in that trade from the Toronto Raptors, and he brings that championship pedigree. I think he's it's Siakam and Thomas Bryant, the only two players on Indiana that have been to an NBA Finals and have won a championship. Of course, you got Spicy P with Toronto in 2019, and you got Thomas Bryant just a few seasons ago with the Denver Nuggets. So I think a lot of these teams have young players who've never been this far in the NBA Finals. So that should be interesting to see that dynamic as well for the Indiana Pacers. But if you look how this Pacers team was built, Miles Turner, I said it earlier, I believe he's the like the veteran on this team. Like, he was drafted 11th overall in the 2015 NBA draft. He's been there a long time through all the ups and the downs while the Pacers were building this team. TJ McConnell, who I have always loved as a player, he could be an X factor in this finals for the Indiana Pacers. What he can do coming off that Pacers bench. They signed him in the off season of 2019. And then you got Isaiah Jackson, who was drafted 22nd overall in the 2021 draft. Where he was acquired by the Pacers. Then you got Tyrese Halliburton, who was acquired during the 21-22 season. Just think about this. The Indiana Pacers, they traded Paul George to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. And then they flipped Domantas Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton in that trade back in the 21-22 season. And then you got Aaron Nesmith, who was drafted by the Boston Celtics, but then the Pacers acquired him during the 2022 offseason. And then you got Benedict Mathurin from Arizona, who was selected 6th overall in that draft of 2022. Andrew Nembhard, who was drafted 31st overall, so that was a a second round pick for the Pacers in that same draft of 2022. James Johnson, who doesn't play much for the Pacers, probably just in mop up duty. He was signed during that offseason of, of the 2022. And you got Jarris Walker, who was selected 8th overall in the draft 2 years ago and then acquired on draft night in that same year. And you got Ben Shepherd, who was drafted in the mid-20s of the 2023 NBA draft. But the way this Indiana Pacers team was built, just a phenomenal job by that front office ownership as well. And then the biggest key to that puzzle was Rick Carlisle coming back to Indiana after Dallas let him go. Rick Carlisle comes back to Indiana to coach this young and exciting Indiana Pacers team. How were the Oklahoma City Thunder built? SGA, MVP this season. I believe he was also the leading scorer of the NBA this season. He was acquired from the Los Angeles Clippers during the 2019 offseason. I believe that was also Paul George, who was sent to Los Angeles. So SGA. So Paul George helped both these teams to where they are now. So I wonder if Paul George gets a ring from either of these teams. Then you got Lou Dort, who's been there as long as SGA. He was signed during that 29, also during that offseason of 2019. You got Kenrich Williams, who was signed during that COVID offseason of 2020. You got Aaron Wiggins, who was a late second round draft pick in the 2021 offseason. And of course, you know Chet Holmgren early. He was a second overall pick in that 2022 NBA draft, but he did not play that year as he was injured, I believe, in an off-season workout. Missed his rookie season during that 22 season. Ousmane Dieng, who was selected 11th overall by the in the NBA draft, but he was acquired by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then you got J-Dub, Jalen Williams, 12th overall by the Thunder. And you got Jalen Williams, different Jalen, in that 2022 NBA draft, a second round pick by this Thunder team. Isaiah Joe, who was with the Philadelphia 76ers, but they cut him, and then the Oklahoma City Thunder signed him during the 2022 offseason, and that's been a really good signing for the Thunder. How do you think Philadelphia feels about that? Miscue of letting Isaiah Joe go, and then you got Cason Wallace, who's really good for the Thunder, coming off that bench. He was selected in the first round of the 2023 NBA draft and then acquired on that draft night by Oklahoma City. And then, of course, you got Alex Caruso, who was acquired this past offseason for from the Chicago Bulls. It was a key piece for the Thunder this offseason, who could really help their defense. And also, we got a free agent signing also this offseason with Isaiah Hartenstein, and Alex Caruso was acquired for Josh Giddey, who I believe still can be a really good player in this league. But for what the Oklahoma City Thunder are trying to do, Caruso is the best fit for what the Thunder needed to do right now to get to where they are now. And look, they are 4 wins away. Both these teams, the way that both these teams have been built through the draft, trades, and free agency. And then you got Mark Dagnall. He was the G League coach for the Oklahoma City Blue, and then he becomes the head coach of this Thunder team. He's done a phenomenal job. Both these teams, the draft, trade, free agency. If you're a small market team, this is how it's almost like the blueprint of how you want to build your team if you're in a small market like these two teams are. Like, and this should be a fun series for if you're a hardcore basketball fan. So now just to get into the geeky numbers, you got the Indiana Pacers who have outscored their opponents in these playoffs by 8.5 points per game in transition. I said it earlier in this episode. You turn the ball over against this Pacers team, they will make you pay in transition. And you can say the same thing about the Oklahoma City Thunder. You turn the ball over against either of these teams, they will make you pay. And that 8.5 points in transition, that is the best differential in these playoffs. And that includes that Game 6 victory in the Eastern Conference Finals against the New York Knicks. So it is quite obvious. For Tyrese Halliburton to be effective, he's got to run. Because that is what this Indiana Pacers team loves to do. They love to run. And for Tyrese Halliburton to be effective, that pace has got to be, no pun intended, the pace has got to be playing fast. And Tyrese Halliburton, he led the NBA with 9.2 passes per game this season. Meanwhile, you got the Oklahoma City Thunder who run off turnovers. And they led both the regular season at nearly 16.5 and the playoffs near 17.5 in opponent turnovers per possession. Going back to what I said, both these teams score in transition off your turnovers. So I believe between Oklahoma City and Indiana, whatever team takes care of the ball better, I believe will win this series. I hope this series goes long. Because that's what we deserve as basketball fans. But you got you got two young and exciting teams who should be around for a long time in Indiana and Oklahoma City. So for this series, because they have been the best team all season, and the way they have beaten teams, they've had the best point differential in NBA history in the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is why I picked, before the playoffs started, I picked the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'm not going away with that. in these finals, I think these finals are going to be a fun series. I really believe so. But for the Indiana to have a chance in this series, I believe the Indiana Pacers have to win at least 2 games in Oklahoma City. That's easier said than done because Oklahoma City, they call it Loud City for a reason. It is a tough environment to play in with those rowdy fans. But for Indiana to have a chance in this series, I believe they have to win at least 2 games in OKC. But I'm not shying away with my pre-postseason pick. I like the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals because they have been the best team all season. Like, you got 68 wins, you got a record point differential, best in the league, you got an elite defense, you got mega depth on this roster, and you got the MVP and SGA. And for those reasons, my pick for this year's NBA Finals, I'm going Oklahoma City Thunder in 6 games. Thunder in 6 games is my pick. But this is not going to be the end of the Indiana Pacers. They're going to grow from this. Whoever wins, whoever loses, they're going to grow as a team. They in these playoffs and in these finals, and they will be better for it come next season. So that is this NBA Finals preview. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and let me know who is your NBA Finals pick, because I'm going Thunder in 6. If you're listening on your preferred audio platform, Apple, Spotify, please hit that follow button, rate 5 stars, leaving us a review, be much appreciated as well. I will catch you next time, and hope you enjoy these NBA Finals, because this season of NBA basketball is coming to an end very fastly. It's been a fun season. Hopefully it's a long series in these playoffs between the Thunder and the Pacers, and we'll catch you on our next episode. Take care, and go Thunder, go Pacers, whoever you are rooting for. And if you're just a hardcore basketball fan, root on for a long series. Take care, and we'll see you next time on our next episode.